starting this. Cool. All right, we are starting this conversation, and I'm so happy that you're here. I'm sure they did an introduction, so thank you for that. This has never happened, guys. This is like a stress brain, but we're going with it. We're going forward. You have taken the time to listen to a conversation about behaviors and supporting social emotional needs. So the way you pronounce my name, it's Prerna, like you're praying, and that's the easiest way to look at this. And who I am, I'm pretty sure they did it, but just to recap really quickly, I've been in the field for 37 years and the founder and CEO of Together We Grow. Together We Grow provides 3 services: professional development that is brain-based, brain research-based, brain development-based. I think it's really important that grown-ups working with children can understand how the brain develops, because, you know, it's not just the children's brain, it's also the adult brain that comes into the factor, right? And the second thing I do is providing behavior coaching. So I work with one classroom at a time, or the whole school at a time, or just the one child that you just don't know what to do with and you're struggling with. And then I also work with families if they have children in their families and how that they can be helped. Somebody is monitoring the chat. Let me know if there's anything I need to pause at or if there's anything I need to do. Otherwise, I'll keep moving. And the last thing I do is support programs that are going through NAEYC accreditation. So observations, portfolios, and all that jazz. I would be interested in knowing who is joining. So take a minute and put it in the chat, your role, your agent's name and your role. And, you know, I can see what children, what ages you work with. So if you wouldn't mind communicating in the chat, I'd love to know who's joining and where you're joining from. So I'll keep us going. Yes, that would be lovely. So here's what we're going to talk about in our time together. Oh, Parker Chase. Oh, Parker Chase is where my granddaughter went to school. She's 9 now. We love Parker Chase. This is awesome. And all right, so we're going to talk about the 3 brain states. We're going to talk about how it impacts behavior in the classroom, and we're going to talk about how stress makes us reactive or responsive. And the last thing I'm going to do is leave you with practical strategies that you can take back to your classroom. I can see that there's several teachers joining, so I want to make sure, and your directors and owners joining too. So I want to make sure that you're leaving this webinar with practical strategies that you can apply right away. I have a question for you guys as you're sharing where you're coming from. Are you noticing an increase in behavior? Tell me a yes or a no. Is this something that you're noticing? The behaviors are getting worse in your classroom? Are they getting better? Yes? Okay. You're in the same space that I'm seeing. I just wanted to confirm where most definitely. All right. So one of the best things that you can do, and I can't stress this enough, one of the best things you can do is start becoming a breathing program. So currently, are you a breathing program? Currently, are you taking deep breaths throughout the day, not just the grown-ups, also the children? Are you currently doing that? Tell me a yes or no, or maybe so, you know, just to gauge how much are we currently doing it. And while you're doing that, let me share, okay, good. Thank you for being honest. Let me share a little bit of a research why breathing matters. So when I start, oh, good, you do meditation and yoga outside. When I start working with a program and I'm supporting them through behaviors, we will become, one of the first changes we do is become a breathing program. That means that every hour, put it next to your schedule. If it's not on your schedule, it's not going to happen, guys. You will have the best of intentions. It won't translate. Put it next to your schedule. Every time you transition, every time you come to the carpet, get the kids into the habit of taking a deep breath, right? And the more we do that, the more the stress hormones come down for the adults and the children. So you all just finished telling me your behaviors are increasing, which means that the stress is increasing. So deep breathing happens to be a natural, very effective way. Just try it. Just try it for 1 month. And I would be curious to know if the behaviors are reducing and if your stress is coming down. So the thing with breathing is you got to have fun with it. You got to get creative with it. This is my all-time favorite book, Breathe Like a Bear. And this has lots of cool ideas on how to get the kids engaged to breathe. Now, if you're doing it in the infant classroom, you taking a deep breath will calm the babies down. If you're in the toddler classroom, give them something tangible, like a ribbon, like a feather, like a crepe paper, and you get them to blow. Because little ones don't have the concept of filling up their lungs. And the older ones can get creative. Breathe like a bear, breathe like a dog, a cat, whatever it is. If they tell you something, just say, show me how. I'm going to show you two right now, because you need to take 3 deep breaths. So every time we breathe, we want to take 3 deep breaths. Here's one way to doing it with your fingers. Join me, please. So here we go. Take a deep breath again. And the last one. If you're doing the birthday candle, you just make a birthday wish, one from yourself and one for somebody else, and so on. Let me give you one more tangible one, a square breathing. So here we go. I really like the square breathing because your hand is going in the opposite direction that your breath is going. So all that to say, start breathing in your programs and you will start seeing the benefits straight away. Please think about this statement. Are you personally the most important tool in your classroom? Do you agree? Do you disagree that you as a teacher are the most powerful tool in the classroom? And if you say yes, I want to know why. Why are you the most powerful tool? You disagree? Mary, tell me more. Why do you disagree? Tell me more. You want to share why you're not the most powerful? We are the leaders. Agree. Yes, we're the role models. Yes. So as you're sending in these answers, I want to tell you why I feel that early childhood educators, leaders, directors, it doesn't matter. They mimic us. You are the most powerful tool because you are wiring the brain. 90% of the brain is getting wired, but 5. Think about that. 90% of the brain is getting wired, burst to 5. What does that even mean? That means the person that you are today, your foundation was laid burst to 5. The crazy part about this is we have zero control on who's wiring our brain because we are so little. Burst to 5, we have zero control. And so we're depending on adults to wire us for the rest of our life. And if they don't know anything about the brain, they just do the best they know how. So I'm going to name some qualities of a characteristic. If you are that person, you can raise your hand there. Oh, we can't see each other, but you can engage in that way. Are you a problem solver? Are you a critical thinker? Do you take risks? Do you avoid risk? Do you take on challenges? Do you avoid challenges? Are you easy to trust people? You can't trust people. You make friends easily. Do you not make friends easily? Do you like things to be a certain routine? Do you not like change at all? All of these things that make you who you are, your foundation was laid birth to 5. So that's why I feel that this is the most important thing that you can do. You're touching people's brains, your brain architects. Own it, own it. We're brain architects and we're developing brains for the rest of their life. So if I'm saying that, then the more you know, the better you do, right? The better you know, the better you'll do. So that's where I want to start the conversation. Understanding the brain, the importance of it, and the role that you play as an educator, leader. There's a video that I'd like for us to watch just for a few minutes and see if we can see how Molly can tell us how the brain is getting wired. Now, why is this not working? I don't know, technology. Okay, here we go. To you from the video. Anybody put it in the chat? I'd love to know what spoke to you. Anything? What was the message that spoke to you guys? Anything that resonates with you? How many neurons can get connected in 1 second? Who caught that? Connections early and often. Yes, yes. Thank you. Yes, 1 million. You were listening. Well done, John. Yeah, it's 1 million neurons every second. That's crazy, right? And do you know how you make new neurons? You make new neurons with new experiences. You make new neurons when they have new experiences and you engage with them and you spend the time with one-on-one connections. That's what gets the brain excited. And who remembers what were the 5 things? Anybody remember? If you took it down, that's good. If not, it's a recap. I'm going to get us going with, I'm just setting this up again. So, all right. So the 5 things were connect, talk, play, healthy home, and connection, and community. And for some, you are the community, and you are sometimes the healthy home. So the role you play is so critical, and they're spending a lot of time. But if our learning in our environment is not engaging the brain, guaranteed you're going to have behaviors, guys. Guaranteed. The lack of attention and focus and the pushback of the behaviors are connected. And all this to say that it creates stress. Stress for you, stress for the children. And you've heard this before. When your brain is stressed out, you cannot learn. You just cannot learn, right? And I don't know if you know this or not, but just spend a couple of minutes on the stress. Stress comes in 3 levels. Something good that happens in your life, it still creates a stress in your hormone. There's still the stress hormones show up, even though it's something good. So there's positive stress, like having a baby, getting married, getting a new job, getting a house. All these things are good, but they're still stressful. The next level of stress is tolerable. So the tolerable stress is temporary. You know it's short-lived. You can have an end date. You have an end time, and you know you can power through it. Getting stuck in traffic, waiting at the doctor's office, taking exams. All of these are temporary. But here's the really crazy thing. Something that your body can bear, it remains in the tolerable space. And then it no longer can bear, it becomes toxic for you personally. So there's a misconception that people feel like the toxic stress is the big buckets of abuse, neglect, divorce, death. It's not true. Toxic stress is anything that you personally cannot take anymore. It's toxic for your body. And guess what? Something that can keep you in the tolerable zone, something that you can continue to bear, something that your body can continue to bear, and then you no longer can, there's one big difference. If you have people in your corner of the world, at home or at work, if you have people in your corner of the world that believe in you, support you, don't judge you, they got your back, you will remain in the tolerable stress longer. But if you don't have that person, then you spill into toxic. And once you go into toxic, there is absolutely, your brain just can't function like that. You make mistakes, you are more reactive, you are more judgmental, like all of this happens. So I have a question for you guys. If we were together, we'd be having a conversation, but I'm trying to make it, and you guys are doing great with the responses. I'm so happy you're interacting with me. How do you personally define challenging behaviors? What are you noticing in your classroom? Put it in the chat, and as you do it, I'll keep the talking going. What are you noticing in your classroom? How do you define challenging behavior? So as you're typing, if I can hear, pushbacks, defiance, hitting, kicking, biting, crying, not listening, screaming, rudeness, like the list is long, right? So in the interest of time, uncontrolled behaviors, anything that stops the learning from happening, anything that personally makes you stressed out. I want to say that again. Any behavior that stresses you out personally, overwhelms you personally, it's a challenge for you. So different things may challenge me, different things may challenge my coworker, and different things may challenge different classrooms. It is a challenge because I am getting stressed out. Does that make sense? Like, this is the message I really want everybody to understand. It's not one defined behavior that is challenging. It's challenging because I'm personally getting triggered, I'm getting overwhelmed, and I am getting stressed out. Does that make sense? I want everybody to understand that. So part of homework, or before I get to the homework, let me give you one little bit of, what's the definition of insanity? Can anybody remember the definition of insanity?
Repeating the same thing, hoping for a different outcome.
Exactly. So here's the thing. You've joined this webinar. You're dealing with behaviors. Take back one thing from here so you do it differently. If you don't do anything different, you're going to continue getting the same results and you're going to continue getting stressed out. So with that said, if you are seriously interested in helping the children and change the behaviors in your classroom, if this is getting you tired, then you need to make a list of your triggers, your personal triggers. Which behaviors in the classroom stress you out? So I promised you 7 strategies. The first one was breathing. The second one is knowing your triggers. So you need to know your triggers and you need to help the children to know their triggers. What triggers you in the classroom and what triggers you at home? Make a list. Home, school. And if you're telling me that I don't get triggered, I'm fine. You're in denial. We all get stressed out, right? It's happening. So make a list of what gets to you. Personally, for me, the not listening is my trigger. If I'm repeating myself and children are not listening, I know my blood pressure is going to rise. I know I'm losing it. So I have to manage my stress when children don't start listening. So here's my plan, because I know I get triggered with not listening. I also get triggered with rude behavior. I just think sometimes, saying rude things to grown-up is not okay. That is not okay. So here's my way of showing up in the world when children are not listening. I have now learned to tell them I am feeling ignored. So my granddaughter is 4 years old, and I was talking to her, and she was not listening to me, and I felt like I'm repeating myself. And because I know my triggers, I was just like, Nalini, you're ignoring me right now. And then she said, what's that? And so I turned my head around just like this, and she was like, Ami. And I waited for a few minutes, and then I turned around again, and I said, I was ignoring you. How did that make you feel when you were talking to me and I wasn't listening to you? How did that make you feel? And she said, yucky. I didn't like it. Okay, so that's strategy number 3. Give them the vocabulary for the emotion and bring the emotion to life. Right? So I explained to her what ignoring felt like, and now we have a common vocabulary that I'm going to use throughout the day. And I did actually. I used the feeling ignored again and again till she got the message. And then we made a deal that when you're speaking, I'm going to listen. When I'm speaking, you're going to listen. We're going to be kind to each other. We're not going to ignore it. Right? So that's one strategy. And you can give them vocabulary for other self-regulation tools, labeling the emotion. So that's strategy number 4. Get into the habit of labeling the emotion and labeling the emotion for yourself. What am I feeling right now, and what is causing this emotion? I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling irritated. What is causing it? It's being caused because kids are not listening. Kids are screaming. That's what's causing it. So this part of self-regulation, once you know your emotion and what caused it and how can I help it. So this is part of self-regulation. Knowing how I'm feeling, what caused it, and how can I help it. Does that make sense? So recognizing, getting into the habit of knowing how you're feeling in the moment and recognizing what the children are feeling and labeling it for them. The more you can label the emotions, the wide vocabulary list you can give them for emotions, the more capable they become for sharing how they're feeling instead of acting on it. So I think I was on strategy number 4, but I think the 5, I want to give you this, another one is understanding why children misbehave. I think that is really helpful to know why the behaviors are happening. So let's make a list under our point number 5 or 6. I'm forgetting, somebody has to keep me correct because it's all spontaneous, and maybe I'll give you more than 7 because I always do. So if you make a list of why children misbehave. So the first thing is knowing your triggers and why you're calling it a challenging behavior, because it's triggering you. The second one is, why do they misbehave? There is attention-seeking behavior. They need your attention. This is golden, guys. You should write this down somewhere. It'll change the way you look at children and their behaviors. Attention-seeking behavior is a relationship-seeking need. Take it to the bank. If they're acting out and you stop what you're doing and you look at them and you're like, you're just doing that to get my attention, bingo, they are trying to connect with you. And they have learned that when I do this, you look at me. When I act out, you give me attention. And children don't care if it's good attention or bad attention. If I'm hungry for attention, I will get it any way I need to. So the first bucket of why children misbehave is attention, relationship seeking. The second bucket is, it could be bio need. I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm not feeling well, so bio needs, right? The third one, you're right, social skills, right? So we don't know how to play, we don't know how to join play, we don't know how to connect, right? So that could be the bucket number 3. The other one could be sensory needs. So in each of our 5 senses, there's 3 levels. So it could be, if I'm going with the sense of hearing, just for example, but this happens for each of the 5 senses, if that makes sense. So if I'm going with the sense of hearing, if there's a loud noise, some children just don't notice it. They're unaware of it. So level 1 is unaware. Just didn't even notice it. There was a loud thing. It didn't bother them. The second one is avoidance. So the first one is unaware. The second one is avoidance. They can't take it. Anything loud, and they're getting triggered. They're getting stressed out. And the third one is they crave it. So unresponsive, oversensitive, avoidance, and the last one is craving it. So the children that are craving loud sounds, they will bang things together. They will bang the instruments together. They'll bang the table. They'll drop things just to make that noise because they're craving it. And so I know some of you guys are saying ADHD and autism. I do want to be very clear that as educators, we are not able to diagnose. I personally am not able to diagnose. I don't have that letters after my name, so I cannot diagnose. But a lot of the behaviors that are happening are getting lumped with something else, and they're not. They're just behaviors because the kids are getting triggered from the environment. They're getting triggered because they're not getting the connection. Their emotional needs are not met. Like all these buckets that I'm describing, and they're not on the spectrum. They may be. Don't get me wrong. But in a webinar like this, being in a general conversation, I don't want to label children because I am not qualified to. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm sticking to the normal children's space conversation right now. I'm not talking about the spectrum children because their strategies are very specific. And it's too short a time in 1 hour for me to talk about specific strategies and general strategies. So I'm sticking to the general conversation right now. I hope that makes sense. And now I've lost my train of thought, how many buckets I've given you. So it could be sensory. It could also be lack of language. They don't have the language skills. They don't know how to interplay. They don't know how to share. And so they bite, they cry, they hit because they don't have the vocabulary. And the last one could be cognitive. They don't understand your rules. They can't remember your rules. They can't apply them. And that gets them into trouble a lot. And also with cognitive, it could be they lack self-control, they lack impulse control, and they don't have self-regulation. But these are skills that we have to teach our children. And I'm not seeing this happen very often. So I want to give you guys an example. So I hope you're staying with me. And this is strategy number, 5 or 6 right now, where we're at. But it doesn't matter the numbers, but I wanted to share something important because I am seeing that there's a disconnect in the classrooms. We're not giving our children the vocabulary for social emotional words. So I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you 3 words. For example, I already gave you ignoring, that's an emotion, but I want to give you 3 vocabulary words that are game changers. First one being self-regulation. So self-regulation has 2 parts to it, or 3 parts if you like. Knowing what I'm feeling, what caused it, and what can I do about it? That's self-regulation. The second one is self-control. When you're speaking to early childhood children, from 2 on up, even in the infant classroom, use the vocabulary, it lays the foundation. But when they become 2 and up, they can start giving you words back. So for self-control, if I'm talking to little bitty ones, I'll frame it like this. And this is the way I've explained it to my grandchildren who are 2, 4, and 9. Self-control means I can control my feet, I can control my legs, I can control my hands, I can control my arms, I can control my mouth. I'm in self-control. I'm physically controlling. I'm not talking back, I'm not talking out of turn. When I'm sitting in a circle, I'm not bothering my friend. I am controlling myself. So when you start using the vocabulary at your circle time, in your lineup, use the vocabulary, show me self-control. Instead of saying, put on your listening ears, click, 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 which is so stupid, but so many teachers are doing it, it doesn't give the children any idea of the cognitive skills. Self-control is a cognitive skill. Paying attention and focus is a cognitive skill, but we're not using the vocabulary. We're just saying, put your listening ears on, click, click, and the children are like, my ears never left my head. I don't know what you're talking about. Instead of that, say, I need you to focus and pay attention. We're listening right now. I need you to pay attention. Give them the vocabulary, right? So self-regulation, talk to them about when you get stressed out, how do you act? When you get upset, how do you behave? You push, you pick, and if they're 3 and up, make a list. So Johnny said, when I get upset, I hit. Sarah said, when I get upset, she cries. Make a list of what they do when they're under stress. When you feel like that, what can you do to help yourself? Breathing could be one. Having a calm down basket could be one. I have a calm down basket. If you don't have a calm down basket, you need something so that children can start regulating their emotions. When I feel this, I can go and I can do this to help myself. That's self-regulation in action. Self-control. Use it throughout the day. Use it. I'll give you an example of my granddaughter. She was with a torch, a flashlight, and the flashlight came with a noise. And the battery noise, right? So she was clicking it again and again, making a noise. And it was driving her dad crazy. And her dad had said several times, stop doing that, stop it, don't do it. And she just kept doing it. And so I thought, okay, we're going to make a game out of self-control now. So we're sitting in the car, and I'm in the backseat with her. And I said, Nalini, we're going to play a game. So here's the game. Your brain is stronger than your hand. Whenever you want to press this flashlight, your brain can tell your thumb, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Just control it. Just see what happens. Just control it. You really want to do it, but your brain is stronger. You can do this. And so she really got into it. She was 4 at the time. She hadn't become 4 yet. She hadn't had her 4th birthday yet. So she really got into it. And then I heard her say, she said, stop it, thumb. Stop it. You're not going to press it. So she really took this, and then she added, she said, my brain is winning, Ami, my brain is winning. She made it into a game, and it became a competition between her brain activated to stop her thumb from doing something that she could have complete control over, right? And so then we played with it, and she mastered it. She mastered the self-control immediately. And, you know, later on when she was playing with her food for dinner, I said, now show me self-control. I see that you're playing with your spoon. Immediately she self-corrected because the vocabulary, she knew how to bring that into life, right? Impulse control is the third one. So self-regulation, self-control, and impulse control. Impulse is, if you're explaining it to little children, impulse is, I really want to do something and I act on it, right? And so I want to eat ice cream all the time. But my brain can tell me and say, Prerna, no, walk away. You don't need the ice cream right now. I can have impulse control. But children don't know that. Children don't know that adults have a self-talk. Children don't know that I can tell myself that I don't need to do this, or I can tell myself to do it. You know, impulse works both ways. Impulse could be hitting, pushing, kicking, biting, but I can stop my impulse because my brain is stronger, if that makes sense. And so give them the vocabulary. I think we're up to 6 or 7 right now with strategies. Give them the vocabulary for social emotional. Give them time to practice it and bring it to life throughout the day. Don't just introduce it once and expect them to know it. They are little humans and they haven't learned all these things. But with that said, with the social emotional vocabulary, I want to also talk about the other extreme. So what I'm also noticing in classroom, quite often children are getting into power struggles. They are being defiant. They are just not complying with the teacher. The teacher tells them to do something and they're just like, nope, I'm doing that. Nope, not happening. And so I think what is missing is the consequence and the guardrails. So I have an acronym for that. This could be a strategy number 7 if you were taking notes, or maybe it's more. I don't know. I don't have any notes. It's all spontaneous right now. KLFF. KLFF is the way you can parent, is the way you can teach. K stands for kindness. L stands for love. First F stands for firm and fair. Kind, loving, firm, and fair. You have to put boundaries. You have to put guidelines. You have to bring their ego into check. When sometimes teachers and adults have this misconception that if I'm doing social emotional, then the kids can run wild and they can do whatever and they can dictate the room. Not true. Not true. Their learning brain has not developed and they cannot handle so much power. And we have to guide them. And it's okay to say no. It's okay. I'm also going to use this word discipline. So don't pick on me just yet. Just hear me out. Discipline is not a bad word. It's needed. But you can do discipline without breaking their spirit. You can do discipline without being mean and ugly about it. You can do discipline in a kind, loving, caring, firm, and fair way. And we need to do that. We are doing our children a disservice if we allow them all this freedom and all this obliging to please them. And I had a mom the other day say to me, I just can't handle my son throwing a tantrum, so I just avoid it. I just give in. I just can't be bothered with his tantrum. But what are you doing? 90% of the brain is getting wired. Are you teaching life skills to this human? How are they going to go through life? Life is not going to be, I get my way all the time. No wonder we can't play. No wonder we're dictating the classroom. I'll give you an example. I was in a classroom the other day, and this little girl, I'll change her name. She's 4 years old. I'll change her name to Ashlyn. And she's running the show. She is completely in charge of the classroom. The teachers can't make her do anything. So the children are doing small group letters on the table, and Ashlyn is over there. She goes to the shelf. She brings out Play-Doh, and she comes to the table. So one of the teachers says, we're not doing Play-Doh right now. And she just ignores them. She just doesn't even make eye contact. She just continues doing what she's doing. The other teacher tries to talk to her. She's just like, I'm not listening to any of you. And the teachers above her head say, oh, he's not going to listen. And they walk away. She knows that. She knows that you know that I don't need to listen. She's running the show. Who's in charge? Who is in charge? Is the 4-year-old in charge or is the teacher in charge? But this pattern has developed. So she's just not going to listen. And the teachers don't know what to do with her. So they're just exhausted because she just gives them pushback all day long, every day. So during the debrief, normally when I do coaching sessions, when I do observations, I then have a debrief with the teachers and the directors and we talk about what I saw. But before we got to the debrief, I said to her, because it was time to clean up, and she was not going to listen to any of them. So the teacher was looking at me like, help me, Prerna, I just know what to do. So I walked up to Ashlyn and I just put my hand on her Play-Doh. I didn't tell her to look at me. I just put my hand on her Play-Doh. And she was like, who is this? Who is taking me on? Who are you? So she looks at me like, oh, I've never seen you before. Who are you? And so I keep my hand there and I say to her, Ashlyn, you have a choice. You can put the red cap on the Play-Doh or I can do it. But this is over right now. We're not doing this anymore. Right? And so she's like, I said, no, that's the choice you have. You put the red cap on or I put the red cap on, but this Play-Doh's game is finished right now. We're cleaning up. And guess what? She did it. There was no pushback. She said, I'll do it. I said, great. She took the cap, she put it on. And then I said, okay, now Ashlyn, I need help. You have Play-Doh on the floor. I need help cleaning up the Play-Doh. She went down, she picked it up, and she was trying to please me so much. We became best friends right away. And then she went to her cubby, she got a sticker out, and she put it over here. So at the debrief, I said to the teachers, I said, she has decided that she doesn't need to respect you because she's running this room. But I also noticed that you have not connected with her. You don't have a relationship with her. There's not a connect. All you do with her is correct her behavior all the time. Don't do this, stop this, you're not doing this. Let me say this to you guys. Write it down somewhere really big. The more you correct, the less you connect. The more you correct, the less you connect. If all you're doing is correcting the behavior, there is zero in her emotional bank. She is not going to listen to you. She's not going to comply. There's no reason to. There's no emotional bond there. So what I said to the teachers was, because I go to them once a month, so I give them homework. And what I said to the teachers was, practice on developing a relationship with her. Catch her doing good, connect with her, play with her, see her for who she is, and then you can help her to connect with you. And the reason she went and gave me her sticker, and the reason she became my best friend, because we went to the lunch cafeteria area, and she said to me, are you coming to sit with me? She doesn't even know me. She's seeing me for the first time, but already she's feeling a connection. So I'm like, yes, of course I will come with you. And she wanted me to sit with her. And the teachers were like, she never does that to us. Yes, because I was kind, loving, and firm and fair. And I saw that she was very helpful when it came time to clean up. And I recognized her for that. Ashlyn, I appreciate you picking up all the pieces of Play-Doh. Now you're making the place safe. So the last tip, I know we're running out of time. Go beyond good jobs. We are sprinkling good jobs like salt and pepper on our food. Good jobs have no meaning. Good job, good job, good job. It's becoming so second nature that we're not even recognizing why we said that it's good. The children for sure don't know why you're saying it's a good job. Slow down and do a PDA. Positive, descriptive acknowledgement. Positive, descriptive acknowledgement. PDAs are so powerful. If you can describe what you're seeing, I noticed that you were helping your friend. Thank you for being kind. Right? I'm describing what I saw and I'm adding an emotion to it. That was kind. Going deeper with it. Get into the habit of doing PDAs. It will help the children to know that you notice them. It will help you to connect with them because you will slow down and you will see what they're doing that you appreciate. Also, if they're not doing something that you don't appreciate, call it out. You don't have to bend backwards to please kids. Please stop pampering their egos. It's not helping them. So if a child really wants to do something, especially those defiant ones who just get stuck and want a power struggle, call it out. I understand you really want to do this right now, but that's not a choice. Just like I did with Ashlyn. I understand you want to play, but that's not an option right now. So give them a choice. If you want to break a power struggle, give them a choice. You can do this or you can do this. Either you pick or I pick. Okay, so I'm looking at, there's a 7-minute time check. I didn't even go through my slides, guys. This was slide number 2. We just had the whole conversation. I hope that was okay. I don't know. I do these sessions on the brain and behavior for 4 to 6 hours. So doing it in an hour is a really short time for me. Reach out to me if you need some help, training, coaching, whatever. I hope you were not a visual learner because I didn't even go through my slides. Any questions? Any wondering? It's literally countdown time. I can keep talking. I have enough content, but I just wanted to pause and see if somebody heard something that you need more clarification on. If you heard something that resonated, you're like, wait, tell me more about how I do this. They good?
An immense amount of positive feedback in the chat.
Oh.
Everyone is really connecting with what you're sharing.
Oh, that's lovely. I wasn't able to follow the chat. I was kind of sort of just in my zone of talking. So let me share some books. This is a good one. Worry Says What? This is a really good one. I love this. This is a really good one. Roaring Mad Riley. This is super good. I mean, mindful moments are an amazing way. Breathing is one. Mindful moments. Let's take a mindful moment together right now. Mindful moment just means that you're activating one sense at a time. Worry says what? Worry says what? And roaring mad Riley. Okay, and this is how you take a mindful moment. Look around. By the way, I have tons of free resources on my website, togetherwegrow.online. Maybe they can put it here. And you can listen to free webinars. You can download children's literature, lots of good books for the social emotional, lots of good books, lots of ideas for focus and attention. Download whatever you need. There's a YouTube channel there. Subscribe if you want to. All right, mindful moment. As we're wrapping up, I'd like for us to take a mindful moment. Look around your room, wherever you're sitting, and find 3 things that are red. Just find 3 things that are red. And now close your eyes and remind your brain, what 3 things did you see? Do you see it? That's a mindful moment. That's it. When you pause and your brain is just thinking of using one sense, you can create a calm in your brain. And the more calm you can have, the more you can downshift your calm and not upload their stress. Your job is to download your calm and not upload your stress. Because the spiral can only break when we are not in this spiral of stress. They're stressing you, you're stressing them. Okay, we're almost out of time. I know I spoke a lot really fast. So questions, wondering, tell me, what are you guys thinking? I know we're wrapping up, so.
Storm, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I would just like for Prerna to know that I've been so blown away by this whole presentation. Definitely, I mean, the TED Talk was amazing. The acronym kind, loving, firm, and fair. I think that's one that we could really spread around and make sure that we carry the examples with us as we interact with teachers and children. I'm really excited about everything that you told us today, whether it was a reminder or, new. I think it's something that we all needed a dose of. I could tell by the comments in the chat that it was a topic that was definitely well received, and you are, the fact that you didn't follow your screens, I mean, was no problem.
And not to mention, couldn't log on, no sound, the brain was stressed out. A whole lot happened, Cindy. Thank you for your kind words. I don't know, we just flowed with it today. I don't know.
Well, you represent the resilient, which is what one of the words we use in our NCCA vision and mission is that, you know, our people are resilient, and you are definitely an example of resilience. So thank you so much. And hopefully when we get the dates for our conference next year, when we come back with the conference in the spring of 2024, you'll
24.
yes, we ended up in the spring of 2024. It's kind of a long story, but we hope to have you on our agenda.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yes,
You know,
I'm there.
We do have two questions in the chat. I don't mean to interrupt. We do have two questions. I just want to get those answered before we all log off. So we have one from Andrew Graham that says, what if you're trying your best, but you get no positive feedback from the children?
But I think we're rewiring brains. So don't give up. They have now been, so I'm curious with the comment that we are doing PDA, but we're not getting feedback from the kids. The kids don't usually give us feedback, right? We give them positive descriptive. So maybe I'm not understanding, but also it could be that you've tried it once or twice and you've fallen off the wagon. You got to do it consistently and move away from good job for it to be effective. So yeah, children usually don't give the adults feedback, but maybe what you're trying to say is I'm not getting the response I'm looking for if I'm doing descriptive praise. Keep doing it and go away from good jobs and start noticing them for little things. They will feel seen and heard.
Thank you. Yeah, he says, thanks for the response. So yes, we will definitely be following up with some more information for you all with an email afterwards with the recording of today's webinar. And I know that Vivian did ask whether or not we'll have another webinar in this area, and we'll have to see if Ms. Prerna has the availability in her schedule for future webinars, possibly in 2023. But we will definitely give you all of her information in the follow-up email along with your certificates of attendance for today. But
the A stands for acknowledgement, positive descriptive acknowledgement. Look, you guys are on it. You're so fast. You're responding. You're like listening and you're responding. The only thing I would say is the website that you shared, it has the courses. There's another one for the free webinars. It's the Together We Grow /events. So under the tab of events has free webinars that you can listen to, and there's a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to. But also follow me on social media, and if you need help, reach out. I mean, I get questions all the time, and people try stuff, and they're like, I tried this, and this is what happened, and didn't happen. I would love to hear from you. Let's engage. Yeah, let's do it.
We will definitely include all of your social information, and so you all can connect with her offline as well. But thank you all so much for your time today. We know that you're busy, and thanks for bearing with us. Technology can be so wonky, but thank you so much for working with us, and we hope to see you all in the next one.
Thank you all for being here. Have a good afternoon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.